Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to today's edition of Intuitive Angling. And man, I really appreciate you guys swinging by the channel to spend some time with me on the video. Always grateful for that. And guys, today I've got a really cool summertime swim jig modification I'm going to show you. Summertime, in my opinion, is one of the best times to fish a swim jig if you set it up right. So there's some things I want to show you here to really maximize your ability to catch fish during the summertime on a swim jig. I'm also, guys, just a quick invitation out there. Anybody interested in becoming a channel member here of Intuitive Angling, you can do that by going to my homepage here and just click on the join button for information. And channel members get things like extra videos every week that aren't seen by the public and some access to my personal email address for your fishing questions. So check that out if you guys are interested in that. Much appreciated there. Okay, we talk a lot about swim jigs on the channel, guys. Swim jigs are pretty much good anytime the water temperature is like over 55 degrees. So I'll start throwing a swim jig in the late pre-spawn and throw it all the way through the fall. But my favorite time to fish it is in the summertime. June, July, and August, I catch more fish on a swim jig than about any other time. And it's, a lot of you guys probably know why. It's because the perch are spawning all year long in most man-made impoundments across the country. Anytime the water temperature is over 75 degrees, perch like, bluegills, pumpkin seeds, red ear sunfish, black perch, they spawn multiple times throughout the summer, and this keeps them in that really shallow water, the same type of place as bass spawn in. And a swim jig is probably the best lure that you can catch them on if you create the right swim jig and you modify your swim jig right. So we're going to show you guys how to do that today. So first of all, let's talk a little bit about the swim jig. This is my favorite swim jig, guys. This is the Megabass Uzo Swimmer. We've talked about this before. Best swim jig on the market. It's got the patented, or not the patented, but the original Megabass fish head design, which keeps the bait running super straight. Nice fine weed guard that doesn't impede with your action. It's got a nano-coated 3/0 hook, needle sharp, and a really nice keeper in here so you don't lose your baits here. And it's got a little spinner on the bottom that I use sometimes and don't sometimes. So this is the setup I use. And like I said, I'll put all this stuff, my tackle warehouse link in the description to get you all set up with this exact swim jig if you want to use that link to get set up with there. Excuse me. Okay, guys, now the first thing you want to do is you got to have a perch colored skirt. Now the perch colored skirt can be about anything. It can be a green pumpkin, it can be orange, it can be yellow. Perch most of the time have green, black, yellow, or orange in it. So any combination of that is gonna work. It doesn't have to be real specific, but this is a color Megabass makes here that I really like, that's really perchy. So the first thing I do for the modification, guys, is when I'm fishing for the bass on the swim jig in the summertime, I don't really like the little spinner here. So I do like it in like the earlier in the spring when the fish are on shad and in the fall time, but in the summertime, I'll take this spinner off here. It's just, you can just take a pair of pliers and you can just take it right off. Like I said, early spring and the fall, the spinner's great. It attracts them because the fish are keying more in shad. But with the perch, I just, like the clean swim jig. So the next thing I do, I'm gonna put my trailer on, and God dang it, first I forgot to get my trailers out here. Let me get them out real quick here. Oh crap. No, actually, I did have it here. I'm on that. It's still early in the morning. I'm still a little messed up here. So the trailer, guys, that I use, this is a little bit different trailer than most people use. This is a Zoom Z-Craw worm. It's got the Z-Craw tail on it, but it's a worm. So what I'll do on this is I'll pinch off, probably make it about, 2.5 inches long, something like this. And I'm gonna put my trailer on before I do any other modification to it. Now, a lot of people use the larger tails on it, but I find that this worm trailer in the summertime of the year, I just get a lot more bites on it than I do like the traditional, flap and leg deals that a lot of guys use, like the Rage Craws and the Speed Craws. This is one of my really favorite setups here. So it's gonna look a little bit like that. And then the next thing I'm gonna do, I'm gonna make the skirt a little bit gnarly. So I'm gonna take, and I'm not gonna cut it short, I'm just gonna make it where the strands are uneven on it. I want a really ununiform look on it. Some of them are long, some of them are a little bit short. You see got some scraggly ones there. And then the next thing I'm gonna do, guys, and this is probably the most important part of it, you got two different marking pins. You got an orange marking pin and a chartreuse marking pin. So I'm gonna take the orange marking pen and I'm gonna mark one of the tails or one of the flapper legs. I'm gonna color it orange a little bit, both sides. The craw or the perch, a lot of times, like I said, you've got quite a bit of orange and chartreuse both on them. So I sort of like to mix it up. A lot of people just use, you know, a straight color on there when they're putting their dyes on. But I'll put some chartreuse on one side and orange on the other. You got a little bit, see, you got sort of a two-tone there. And that two-tone, when that two-tone, that orange and chartreuse is in the water, guys, that thing looks super realistic. Actually, I got this thing just a little bit long here. So I'm gonna take it off. I'm gonna bite off a little bit more. I like it really compact. You're gonna find in the summertime of the year, when you're fishing that real shallow water, that they like a little bit more compact look on it. So it got it more like that. Nice little compact looking swim jig there. And you gotta sort of adjust it a little bit. That's my setup there. Guys, that right there, that will get you some bites in the summertime on a swim jig. So let's talk a little bit about how, look, doesn't that thing look good? Look at that thing coming through there. I mean, when you see that in the water, you'll see what I'm talking about. But in addition to the modification on the swim jig here, obviously you got to throw it in the right spot. And we've talked about this before on the channel. One of the biggest keys to catching them on a swim jig in the summertime obviously has to do with the type of cover that you're fishing, but you really need to concentrate on shade pockets. Now the shade pockets can be small. I'm talking about something if you're working down a stretch of bank and maybe there's a tree coming off the water and it's throwing off a little area of shade against the bank like that, that's big enough. The fish are gonna be in and around that shade unless the water is pretty dirty. Now, if the water's a little bit dirty, it doesn't quite matter quite as much. And if the water is dirty, like say if it's under, 15 inches of visibility or under 12 inches of visibility, I don't usually use the perch pattern here. It's not bright enough. I'll usually go to like a black and blue, but preferably when I'm fishing for those spawning bluegill summer fish with a swim jig, I want a little bit cleaner water. So I'm looking for water visibility about 1.5 feet to 3 foot is ideal with that. When you get in about 2 foot of water visibility with this color swim jig, it just really lights it up and looks good. So the first thing is shade, and then taking advantage of any available cover that you have. Some of my favorite targets for summertime fishing are dock corners, docks that are in real shallow water, lay down trees and stumps. If you got a lay down log in the water, it's really good. Any type of shoreline grass, if you got gator grass, if you got, lily pads, if you got, cattails, reeds, water willows, anything like that. Any type of shallow grass is going to be a prime piece of cover, but you don't have to have it. Some of the best swim jig fishing, guys, I've ever done have been on lakes that don't have any shoreline cover. They just got rocky banks or gravelly banks, and those fish those bluegills don't need any cover to spawn around. So if you go back into a cove, like a nothing looking cove, and you get, all summer long, if you get about halfway to 2/3 back in that cove, you'll notice bluegills in there, moving around, some more than others. You don't have to have them present to catch them on it, but just go down a bare shoreline towards the back of the cove and just throw that swim jig to the bank, keep your rod tip high, and just shake it as you're reeling it. And always try to keep it in sight. Like, when you don't ever just reel it straight through the water. You want to shake it so it's going like this. And if your jig falls out of sight, bring it up to the top where you can see it again. You always want to keep the jig in sight as much as possible. You don't have to have it in sight the whole way back, but try to keep it in sight or just barely out of sight. That's when they're going to hit it the best, in those type of shallow, shady areas. Now, I'll give you guys a prime example. One of the best days I've ever had on a swim jig, I was practicing for the Bassmaster Classic. It was at Logan Martin Lake down there. And I got on a pattern where I was fishing the back of the coves. Now there is grass at Logan Martin, but the places where I was catching them on the swim jig, there was no grass, it was just clean. I'd go back into the back, and this was August, this Forestwood Cup down there, this was August, it was super hot. I'd go back into those shallow, flat coves that had, there was trees in the back of them, and there was just like gravelly, small rock bank. And you get in the back there, and there might be one little stick in the water, or there might be one little shade pocket. And anytime I could find a little piece of shade or a little stick in the water, I'd take that swim jig, this exact same color setup there, and just swim it past that shade, and those good ones would come out and just clobber the thing. They'd come out of nowhere. It's just like they're cruising in that shallow water, and they'll bite anything that you get back in there, especially a swim jig. So anyway, guys, perch pattern swim jig, if I could leave you with one tip, is make sure you get an orange and a chartreuse. Make your you know, your flappers there different colors, and it really attracts a lot of those summertime fish. So hope it helps out, guys. We'll talk later.